Hi, I'm Katie Caves. I am the Director of Summits, which is the Reform Lab at the Chair of Education Systems at ETH Zurich.
And I'm Dityola Nacho, and I'm a Research Assistant at the Chair of Education Systems at ETH Zurich.
And if you've watched the other videos that we have on permeability, you should be fairly convinced at this point that permeability is something that's important, and it's something that if you're working on improving an education system or improving certain outcomes in an education system, it's something that you might want to work on. But then the question is, how do I get started working on that?
And that is why in this video, we will present different sources of information that can help you start the conversation about permeability in your country. We also have developed a decision tree that is going to assist you in identifying the permeability type of your system. And at the end, we'll talk about ways to improve the permeability after you have assessed it.
So the first thing that we're going to talk about is where you can find information that you might need to sort of diagnose your system. And there's a lot of different information sources. One that's available internationally for a lot of different countries is called ISCED, I-S-C-E-D. It's the International Standard Classification of Education. And this is put together by UNESCO. And it's sort of an operational manual that looks at, in lots of different countries, at the different levels they've defined, what programs are available. And they actually have downloadable spreadsheets about most countries. I would say 80% of countries they've got.
Exactly. This is why this is a very good starting point when you look into your system, because you have information about so many different systems and you can see all the available programs in your country, and depending on the country you can maybe also see the transition routes that are possible within the programs.
The second thing that you can do is look at other internationally relevant sources. The first one is actually something we have in our chair, and Dityola, you're in charge of these, so why don't you talk about them?
So that says Factbooks are a non-growing series that we always update from time to time, that shed light on the cultural, economic, and social characteristics of different countries with the focus on education systems. What's very special about these Factbooks is that they contribute very much to better understanding VET systems, which is not very often the case. That is why they can be very useful when you're looking for information about the important stakeholders of a country, or maybe the recent reforms that the education system has gone through. And another very interesting thing is that since we have over 50 Factbooks, this is a very good way to gather information about similar systems and start a conversation about the best practice.
Absolutely. There's other internationally applicable databases you can use. For example, Eurostat has a lot of information, obviously, about mostly European countries. UNESCO at their Institute for Statistics has tons of information, the OECD as well, and the World Bank. And with some of these, you can even look at how many students are enrolled, and like you said earlier about the progression routes and things like that. And that can be important if you're deciding, for example, if a program sort of counts. You know, if there's a situation where you have a program, but it's only in one occupation and it's the only tertiary vocational professional program you have, and it only serves 12 students a year, maybe that'll give you the information you need to not include that in your permeability map.
And that is a very good point, because there are a lot of programs in different transitions that don't appear in the statistics or in the international sources. That is why we always recommend consulting local professionals and experts. So that could be people from the Ministries of Education and Labor, or experts from the Employer Association, teachers from different schools, and many different other stakeholders.
It's also really helpful to maybe, if you have the access, to talk to students, or like you said, teachers, to see if a transition route exists. Do students know about it? Is it something they consider possible? If a program exists, what do students think about it? Do they think it's a good option? Do they think it's a sort of last resort? Like, how are people thinking about different programs in the system? This is all really important information. So once you have this information together, then you'll want to try to start identifying what permeability type you have. And of course, the permeability types aren't some kind of ironclad system where we say, if you have this, then absolutely, then these are your outcomes. But it's a really good way to start conversations with maybe stakeholders, policymakers, other people who are interested in improving the system. And that we've sort of formulated a decision tree, a set of steps that you can follow that'll help you diagnose your system. The first question at the top is, do you have vocational education and training? If no, you're academic only. If yes, you can move on and ask the next question.
And the second question is, do you have VT at all levels? And this helps to understand the level of opportunity in your system. So if you do not have VT at all levels, that means that your system can be one of the three types: dead end, cul-de-sac, or springboard. And the way to understand which type you belong to is by asking how difficult it is to change pathways. If changing pathways is challenging, then the system is a dead end type. However, if you can change pathways, there can also be two ways. It's an easy way, and if that's the case, then we are dealing with a springboard type, and if that's challenging, then we have our cul-de-sac type.
On the flip side, if you do have vocational education and training or professional education and training at every level, then you can either be silos, difficult transitions, or full permeability. If you cannot change pathways, you're in silos. If you can, but it's hard, then you're in difficult transitions. And if you can easily change pathways and people do it and you see the evidence of that happening in your system, then you have a fully permeable education system. Now, once you've identified your education system type, your permeability type, the next question is, okay, if I want to improve, how do I go about doing that? And there's two general strategies. One is adding programs, adding opportunity, and the other is improving access. So if you are in an academic-only system, you have to improve opportunity first. You have to add vocational education and training, and ideally also professional education and training, because there's only so much you can do shoving more people up one arrow. You have to expand the number of boxes and therefore the number of arrows that are available in your system. If you have any other type than academic only, you can improve in one of two ways. The first is to add transitions or to make more efficient transitions. And this is generally if you want to focus on improving equity. Again, this only works if you already have opportunity in your system. If you're starting from an academic-only system, the only thing you can do is add opportunity. And this is important no matter what your goals are. If you want to increase equity, if you want to improve labor market outcomes, whatever it is, you have to add opportunity by adding programs in the vocational professional pathway. If you have any other type, if you already have some opportunity in your system, then you can either focus on adding opportunity to improve labor market outcomes or adding access to improve equity. Of course, the two are intertwined. It's not that you only improve equity by improving access and you only improve labor market outcomes by improving opportunity, but generally this is sort of where the focus areas lie. As you're trying to improve your system, you have a few options. Once you have that information, you can start thinking about improving your system. If you have an academic-only system, you have to improve by adding opportunity. There's no other way for the system to get more permeable. But if you have any of the other types, you can either focus on adding opportunity or on adding access. Ideally, you're doing some work so that both happen at the same time. And very broadly speaking, the more you focus on adding access, that should help increase equity. And the more you focus on adding opportunity, that should help improve youth labor market outcomes.
What we provided you with are very simplified tools to start the conversation about permeability and how to improve your system. However, many practitioners might maybe see that their system falls even maybe between types, or maybe something that combines different kind of types, but this is just the start.
And you can use these tools to, like you said, to start the conversation and to identify the strengths and weaknesses of an education system and try to improve outcomes for all young people. Thank you so much for your time and attention, and we hope that these tools are useful for you.